Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome into the Arkansas Football Recruiting Report with Otis Kirk. Wow, that is quite the mouthful. Otis, thanks so much for joining us this week. Lots to talk about. Recruiting has been a revolving door with Arkansas, and Sam Nelson, an edge, 6'4", 220 from Bryant, was offered by the Hogs this week.
Yeah, he's a 2027 kid, and it's kind of significant in the fact that his brother just signed with OU. Sam and his staff didn't offer Matt Nelson, but Bobby and his staff did, if I remember right. I know Ryan went after him pretty hard once he got to Arkansas, and he flipped two of his teammates from Bryant, T.J. Hodges and Jelani Smith, but he wasn't able to get Matt. But, you never say never in this game. In fact, that came up this week in his press conference. He talked about some of these kids that he didn't get. They may come back eventually, and so we'll see how it works at OU for Matt Nelson. But Sam Nelson's a 2027 defensive end edge, 6'4", 220, 230, 240, somewhere in that range. I've seen him listed 220, 240, so pick out what you want. But OU is offered and a couple other schools. But he's kind of his brother kind of snuck in and got offered by OU and some other schools, but wasn't getting all that much attention. I think Sam will get a lot more attention up front, partly because kind of what Bryant does, and also because of his brother turned out like he did, turned out to be a very good player. But, it's good to see Arkansas back offering these Bryant kids, even landed two, like I just said. Ryan Silverfield's offered Quentin Sykes, too, a wide receiver in the 2029 class from Bryant. So, they're offering Bryant kids. For some reason, they weren't before. I don't know why, because Bryant, in all honesty, may be the best high school football program in Arkansas. But regardless of all Wire, Water, whoever, the fact is Arkansas is now recruiting at school, and I think that's a good thing, regardless, whatever happened in the past. But and it's good to get guys like T.J. Hodges and Jelani Smith on campus. And Sam Nelson is definitely interested. He was pretty excited about that offer. I talked to him briefly this morning, but he was at church, so I didn't interview him. He was good, nice enough to call a geek back who called him during church, and he snuck out and called me back. But anyway, Sam is excited about the Arkansas offer, and maybe we can have him on here sometime. But Bryant really has a great football program over there, and it just makes sense to try to get some of those kids. And so we'll see how it works out. He's got a senior season to play, but it's good to it's good that Arkansas is showing early interest in him, unlike his brother. So we'll see how this turns out. And he may follow his brother to OU, but we're talking, God, what is this? We're talking February. We're talking signing day in December. So who knows what situation will be at OU, what situation will be at Arkansas, what situation will be at Bryant by then. So a lot of things can happen. So it's kind of pointless to speculate on what this kid may do in December. But it will be interesting to follow him throughout the rest of the spring, summer, and in the fall. See if he takes an official visit to Arkansas, which I think he probably will. I didn't ask him. Like I said, cut the interview really short. I did because I was kind of embarrassed about calling a kid at church. So I thought I'd got him before church, but you got to be careful because you call before church, or you call him if you wake him up. You call too early, so you're kind of danged if you do and danged if you don't in this business. But anyway, he was nice enough to call me back. But yeah. This is going to be an interesting scenario, and it's going to be worth watching. And we'll see how like I said, he's got two former teammates going to be at Arkansas, or are at Arkansas now, and one is a brother at OU. So we'll see how it works out. But hopefully it works out well for the Hogs. If it don't, at least they're trying to make an effort there. And we'll talk about later if we have time about the in-state efforts by Ryan Silverfield and his staff. I know that's something we have on the agenda to talk about if we have time. We've got some other prospects to talk about first.
Yep. Well, up next, we wanted to also talk about Eli Thornton, defensive tackle, 6'3", 310 out of Valley View.
Yeah, Valley View is loaded. They've got, and this kid hasn't been offered by the Hogs yet, but he has by Wisconsin and a bunch of others. But he's going to visit Arkansas once this dead period ends in March, and he's someone I think might get an offer simply because he's a defensive tackle. you know, Ryan pointed out this week, you know, you want them 6'4", 295 and can run, but so does everybody else. So there's not those 6'3", 310 don't grow on trees. We've talked about that on here a million times. But that's why I think Arkansas could get in on this kid. At least they're going to bring him in or going to let him come in for a junior day, see how it goes. But you know, they've got Levi Manning, a wide receiver over there. Carter Wallace is a running back at Valley View who's been offered by a ton of schools. Missouri recently, a bunch of others. And then Ty Flory is a 6'3", 215-pound linebacker tight end who's just a 2029 class, kind of like the Sykes kid we talked about, Bryant. So Valley View is a school that if I get out this spring, I hope to get over and watch them practice because they've got some prospects. Right now, they haven't been offered by Arkansas, but I think more than one may, but I think Thornton simply because of the position he plays. I think Arkansas probably wants to see him in person. You want to make sure he's 6'3", not 6'1". I'm not saying he is 6'1", but that's what you're as a coach. That's what you're wanting to see their height, and just talk to him and see how it goes. But he has legitimate offers, and we'll see how it goes. But I think Arkansas may jump in the boat, may jump in the hunt there for him. We'll see. It's not to say, and no one's told me they will. It's just a hunch I've got because of defensive linemen, defensive tackles, they're hard to find. And you get one in your state that other big time schools are recruiting and offering, it makes sense that you may want to offer him. So, but we'll see how it works out. You know, he's going to visit, and that's going to be an interesting. That's like I said about about Nelson. This is going to be an interesting scenario to see how it plays out.
So we've got a ton of players who plan to have official visits with Arkansas, as you mentioned, once this dead period's over. First off, Bryson Brown, defensive back, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to knock anyone's work, but I saw where he was ranked on one recruiting service this morning, and I just shook my head. This kid's as bad as good as anybody in the country, and he's rated a low 3-star, and I couldn't believe it because I don't put a lot of stock in that stuff, but I mean Bryson is, man, he's got like 30 something offers, 31 offers, and I think the college coaches know what they're doing there. In Arkansas and Kansas have already set up visits with him. He's going to be here on that May the 29th, 31st weekend is when he's going to come in for his official visit. He's originally from Pine Bluff. We've had him on here before. Most people probably didn't say, it's been a while, so most people probably forgot that. But he's from Pine Bluff originally, still has an Arkansas cell number. But he is, I'm going to tell you, he was at Wasso actually when I had him on here before, but he transferred to Broken Arrow last year, and he can play cornerback, safety, wide receiver. Heck, he could probably play running back if he wanted to. I don't understand the low ranking on this kid, but the colleges know about him, and he's legit. I mean, I'm just telling you, Bryson Brown is a legit player. I don't know what I think Arkansas will get him. That's just me speculating. We've remained pretty close since he was in like the 9th grade over to Wasso. I've talked to him since then, and he's constantly texting me or direct messaging me on X. I don't know if anybody texted him or, but he direct messaged me. And, I have a good relationship with that kid. And so he's somebody I'm really kind of thinking Arkansas may land. He's got ties to the state. And I know Coach Silverfield went to see him during the visitation period, and so did one of the assistant coaches. One of the defensive back coaches went over there too. So it's not like he's not a priority at Arkansas. He certainly is. And he's going to be a priority for a lot of schools. But I think with Arkansas showing that much interest, the previous staff offered him early on in his career, and that impressed him. But then when this staff immediately took over and immediately kind of followed up and showed him they were still just as much interested as anybody, it made a big impression on him. So I think Arkansas, right now, I'd say they're the team to beat, but when you got 31 offers, anything can happen. You're taking other visits. So we'll see. But I do like the Hogs. I like the Hogs' chances there. Let me leave it at that because I really like the Hogs' chances on him.
Okay. All right. Next up, I'm just going to keep firing away. We have Jeremiah Dent, the running back out of Marian.
Yeah, some people have him rated the number one player in Arkansas since Hank Hendricks went to 2026 class. Some people have Dent rated the number one player in Arkansas. He's a 6'2", 210-pound running back, 6'1", 210. Big running back from Marian, same school that Anthony Switzer played at Arkansas from. He's got an official visit the same weekend, the 29th through the 31st. Dent's got North Carolina, Bobby Petrino. He's got Ole Miss. Auburn. He's there again. He's got like ton of offers, and but he does have a visit. His first visit, I think that's his first visit. I know he's coming on May 29th, 31st visit. He may have one earlier than that to another school, but I do know Arkansas is getting a visit from him, and there again, he's a legit player, big running back who's got some speed. And we'll see how this works out. Kern went to Ole Miss from there. Well, he went to LSU and then to Ole Miss from there. But I like Dent, and I think Arkansas there again's got a chance for him. And hopefully the official visit goes. And he's another one that Ryan Silverfield and them offered. He did not have an offer until Ryan Silverfield and his staff got here, which is a head scratcher, but whatever. And so I do like the fact that they offered him, and that made an impression with him. And we'll see how it works out. He's got a lot of visits, a lot of offers, very good running back, but we'll see how this ends up at the end, just like we will on all these kids, I guess.
Yeah. All right, now we're going out of state to Brentwood Academy in Tennessee, wide receiver Eli Ferguson.
Yeah, he's a kid right now. They'll be at the same weekend, May the 29th, three-day visit. He's got like 19, 20 offers. Right now, I'd say Arkansas is probably in the lead for him. They're showing a lot more interest than some of the others are. He's got a lot of interest. And Brentwood's one of the best high schools in Tennessee. And he's right now, Arkansas is right there with him. And that's probably one they would like to close out that first visit weekend. Don't know what will happen, but if they could, that would be great, to kind of get a little momentum there at first. If you could pull him Brown in that first weekend, and there'll be other kids, but right now it's still early. Kids are just setting up these visits. And, King Ghostin told me again this morning he's going to visit Arkansas when they invite him, and he's at 7-on-7 right now, kid from Valley in Oklahoma. So, but he's in the same situation a lot of them are. He's just waiting to set up his official visits to these schools. But we'll see. But Ferguson right now, I would say Arkansas maybe out in front for him. But he's got a lot of offers, a wide receiver, and they need him, and we'll see if it works out there.
All right, now to the other side of Arkansas, Texas, South Lake Carroll, wide receiver Brady Knowles.
Yeah, and the thing of it is Ryan signed a Clayton kid from there, an offensive lineman from that school. And that's always one of the best high schools in Texas. And this kid's 6'5", 6'4 and a half, 6'5" wide receiver. And Knowles has got good size. Illinois is on him. TCU. Kendall Browse was trying to get him to come over to South Carolina after leaving TCU. Kentucky's on a lot of these kids with this new offense, with new coach they've got, offensive coordinator at Oregon. There are a lot of the kids I'm going to talk about, especially the skill position players, and they're certainly in the mix for Brody. But Knowles is just big target there. That's what you like. Plus, as I said, that's a school that's going to have kids every year, multiple players every year, multiple prospects. And you got one last in the 2026 class. You got an offensive lineman from there, a center. And so now you try to keep a little momentum going to that school because, like I said, that's one you could go to every year and know there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 prospects there to play in the SEC. So it's going to be a recruiting battle for him. Too early to say where he might be leaning, but I do know that a lot of people like him, and Hogs are certainly in that mix.
All right, another running back out of Arkansas, Little Rock Central, Trey Stewart.
Yeah, had Trey on here one time. Trey. Some people pick him as the number one player in the state. So I don't know. I guess depends on who you're talking to or who's doing the rankings. But he is a good running back for Little Rock Central. Had a great junior year. He'll be here the June the 5th through the 7th weekend, same weekend as Knowles. Trey has got South Carolina and Ole Miss, Arkansas. A lot of other schools are trying to get that visit with him too. We'll see. He's narrowed it down though to like those 3 schools, and so I think he's going to make a decision pretty quick. And Arkansas would love to add him. There's about 4 or 5 running backs in the state of Arkansas this year that have offers to the state in that 2027 class. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's a numbers game. And the good thing, I guess, in regards, I'm talking about Stewart, but I'm just in general, the good thing about most of those running backs are athletes, so they could play other positions if you could get them. If you say you want to leave 2 at running back, then maybe 1 could go to receiver or defensive back or something. So, I'm not talking about Trey. I'm just talking about in general that position, somebody that's usually an athlete to play other positions. I do know the Hogs are recruiting Trey to play running back. So we'll see how it works out there. And then, but he's coming that weekend with the first weekend in June the 5th through the 7th.
Okay. And then Braylon Lane, wide receiver out of Houston Central King, Texas.
Yeah, he's won Kentucky's own, obviously. Kansas on a lot of these kids. They got the offensive coordinator that was at A&M. So these offensive coordinators are going after these skill position players. Houston's right there. Iowa State with their new coach, they're needing bodies, players with talent. A lot of kids left there when the transfer portal, when the coach went to Penn State. So they're in there. He's a very good receiver. Uh, one of many that Arkansas is recruiting. He'll be here that same weekend as Knowles and Stewart. So, but right now, I think Arkansas is one of his visits. Well, they are one of his visits. But I mean, I don't know that anyone stands out for him right now, to be honest with you.
And then we're going to stay in Texas with Trenton Blaylock.
Yeah, he's a stud cornerback out of Texas, out of Humble. Go. I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce that school. Out of Humble, Texas, and he's probably making me humble. But Trenton is a stud cornerback. He's 6 foot tall, got good height for that position. Man, Arkansas, Vandy, Texas Longhorns, they're all wanting him, and a lot of other schools. But those right now, he's going to look hard at Arkansas. He's going to look hard at the Longhorns. He's looking hard at Vandy. Vandy's making a nice push on a lot of these kids after kind of being irrelevant for years. Now they got relevant last year. Certainly got very relevant. A lot of schools will like to be as relevant as they got this last year, and they're in on some kids that maybe they wouldn't have been in the past. But Blaylock is, when you see Texas Longhorns get an official visit, and he's going to be a priority there and everywhere else. So you got to think, they may have the inside track, but we'll see. I mean, that's what official visits are for, and Arkansas is certainly trying to make an impact there. If they could get him, and he'll be here that June the 19th to the 21st weekend. That would be a nice pickup because wherever he goes, he's likely to play pretty early in his career. I don't know what he'll play as a true freshman, but he's certainly capable of it. He's that good. He reminds me of Bryson Brown. Those are kind of defensive backs you get, and then you insert them pretty early because they can play. They don't need a lot of build up or a lot of training. They're a great program, and they're ready to go when they get here. Now, it doesn't mean they've got other players ahead of them, older players, obviously.
Right.
But those are the type of players that you can get. You're going to get a future player there with him.
Yep. All right. Last one to wrap up the segment before we head to a quick break. Mason Ball, the running back.
Yeah, another running back in 2027 from Jackson, from Arkansas. That's what I said. There's 4 or 5 of those kids. I mean, we had the running back from Fordyce on a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's just a loaded position in the state. And then they haven't even offered Carter Wallace, a running back, who we talked about from Valley View's got a ton of offers. So there's at least 5 of those guys with Power 4 offers. And so multiple Power 4 offers. And Mason plays for, I just went over at Jacksonville. He Vandy is very much in the hunt for him. Kentucky, another school we mentioned, North Carolina. Kentucky, they got the running back coach that was at Arkansas previously with Bobby, and so they're naturally here looking at him. They came down during the visit period, and so Kentucky, Vanderbilt, North Carolina, Bobby's trying to get him over to North Carolina. So he's got a lot of offers, and he's got more than that. But I mean, those are visits he's going to take. Made June the 12th for Arkansas, and he's just like I said, that's a position that's loaded in the state. You don't know at Arkansas will be able to keep all them kids.
Right.
You'd like for them to, but if they don't, there's a lot of numbers in the state at running back, and there's going to be some good ones. Maybe don't come to Arkansas, but it's just unusual to see that many Power 4 running backs in the state of Arkansas with so many teams that have gone to a spread offense. It kind of got away from running backs for a while. It used to be Darren McFadden. There were Peyton Hills. You could hit running backs all the time in Arkansas. And they kind of got away from that and went to wide receivers. But man, there's that 2027 class is just loaded with running backs, and Mason's certainly one of them.
Yep.
So we'll see how it works out with him. But there's so many that I don't know if they can get them all, but they're trying. And that's all they can do.
Yep. Well, Ryan Silverfield met with the media earlier this week. We're going to get Otis's main takeaways after the break. Stick with us. Welcome back into the Football Recruiting Report with Otis Kirk. Ailey Weiss here with you as well. Otis, Ryan Silverfield met with the media earlier this week. There's two main takeaways that we kind of talked about off camera that now we're going to bring to the audience. The first one, he signed 19 signees to the class of 2026, and 10 of those are in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, two junior college, but 19 high school kids and 10 of them from Arkansas. And, and that was a question I asked him, and he just, he pointed out that that's going to be a priority. And it's good that that's not just lip service, because every coach says that Arkansas kids are a priority.
Right.
And then they don't follow up with that. But Brian proved that he did. You got four. How that question came about is I asked him about the four kids he flipped on the first day of the job,
Right.
first full day on the job. And that led into him bringing up that he signed 19 high school players and 10 of them from the state of Arkansas. And like I said, that to me is huge because it makes the state a priority. And basically, the ones he didn't get were kids that didn't have offers, and they got offers from Ryan, but by then they'd already moved on. But it shows that he is, like I said, every head coach says Arkansas kids, it all starts in the state, but then they don't follow up with that.
Yep.
They go to Georgia or wherever, but he did, and I like that. And it's good that he's going to make that a priority. And they've got 8 or so offers out right now. Maybe some more that we talked about earlier on the show that may come in 27. But I like the fact that he is making that a priority. But 10 of them out of the 19, and that counted Hank Hendricks, who was in the 2027 class but reclassified, and then the 4 he flipped that day. And then you had some guys like Colin Tucker, then the kids that was been, Kyle Tucker. They committed to Arkansas early on, so. And Colin Tucker's going back several years ago, man. Tucker Young is the kid that committed. But anyway, I'm getting my offensive lineman mixed up here. But Tucker should be mad because he's been on here a million times, and I call him Colin Tucker. But no, Tucker Young and those kids have been for a long time. I'm trying to look at two things and do one. I can barely do one at a time. But that was one of the big takeaways that I thought of.
I mean, I know I'm new here, but when I first got here in the fall, that was something that I had spoken with a lot of fans about, is that they were almost just confused as to why more recruiting wasn't being done within the state of Arkansas. And Silverfield, I must have heard that, or that's just how he is as a coach, and he went right to work in Arkansas as soon as he got the job. And then he also talked about, he was very careful with his words, that he's not likely to sign any more recruits for the 2026 class. So what we see is what we're getting this fall.
Yeah, that was another one of my questions, because I had a lot of people ask me that. Are they going to sign anybody else in 2026? And of course, I couldn't say for sure. And he didn't say no, as you said. He said you never say no,
right?
But not likely. And so anything can happen. Some kid that's not qualified could qualify late, some stud, and so it could change. But right now, his thinking is probably what we've got is probably what we're going to battle with. And that's kind of what I expected him to say, but it was good to hear it from him because, he knows more, he knows the situation better than anybody else. So I had to ask that question because I'd had people asking me, and I don't like saying I'm not sure, I don't know. So, I did get to ask him, but it's kind of what I expected. But he did he left the door ajar a little bit. He didn't completely close it and say no way. So he said not likely or never say no, but so we'll see how it works out. But it looks like what they've got. And that makes sense because most of the kids have signed by now. Like I said, there's always a chance, though. There's always a chance that, that some kid that slipped through the cracks for whatever reason, maybe he wasn't qualified, or maybe there's some kid at a junior college that been there a year and all of a sudden, but now he's a qualifier and nobody knew about it. There's always been situations like that pop up in April, May, and can always change the situation. Right. So that's why I guess you never say no or never say never, because somebody like I've seen it happen before. I've seen that happen more than once where kids either not qualified and they miraculously qualify or whatever. But that's why you never say never. But and then there's been some junior college kids, and junior college kids are getting overlooked a lot now anyway. We had Antonio Sando Bascom on here a few weeks ago and talked about with the transfer portal and then kids getting 7 to 8 years of college, a lot of junior college kids are taking a hit there, and it's good that Arkansas is four, I believe. Yeah, four in this class. Yeah, they count the edge from North Little Rock and signed the last period, so it was four, not three. But yeah, that's good because I like to see them getting back into junior college, and you just hate to see those kids not get a chance after junior college because most of them, there's a lot of kids there that can play football. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
at that Jayhawk League where he played at Coffee there, where the other kid played at Hutchinson, and I've been to those schools, and there's some good football played up there. They're not going to have 20 prospects on the team that could go D1 or Power Four, but they've got prospects that can. And some of them are getting overlooked. Like I said, when these kids get 7 or 8 years of college eligibility, it hurts. High school, it hurts. There's going to be kids like Hank Hendricks, the studs that are going to get offered regardless. But the borderline kids, some of them may not get offered and that's why I hope they put their foot down and quit allowing 7 and 8 years for some of these college players to stay in college. But eventually it hurts others. And look, man, I mean, it's time to move on after that long. 5 years, it should be time to move on.
Otis, week after week, you prove why you are the go-to guy for any Arkansas football recruiting information needed. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Okay, thank you for having me on here. I appreciate it, and I promise. I apologize to Tucker Young for calling him Colin Tucker, man. Like I said, I'm looking at the baseball, trying to follow baseball and talk to you, and I can barely do one thing at a time. So I know not to do that. So thank you, and I appreciate you putting up with me.
Have a great day, everyone.